G'day, legends, and welcome to a solo pot noodle. I'm your host, Jared, and in the 5 years of Celtic Down Under as a podcast, this is the first time I've had to do one on my own. So, I'll try not to ramble too much and make the show as interactive as possible. So, get in the comments, ask any questions about the current state of Celtic, what you think is going on transfer wise, that, and we'll bring them up and chat about them while going through a few other things. So, hope you all enjoy the show. If you can do us a favor to help grow the channel, we're about 100 people away from hitting 4,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So if you can hit the like button for the video, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, I'd really appreciate it. So, start off the pod the way we normally do, talking about the Celtic Hibs game on the weekend. So, Celtic 3, Hibs 1. The starting lineup for that game, there wasn't very many surprises there. It was Schmeichel in goals with Johnston, Carter-Vickers, Scales and Taylor at the back, McGregor, O'Reilly and Hatate in the midfield, and then Kun and Forrest on the wings with Maeda playing as a striker. So no Kyogo playing. On when you look at the bench, you have Sinisalo, Palmer, Ida, Yang, Home, Bernardo, the Bricky, Welsh and Turley. So I think the key thing when I saw that starting lineup going into the match was, okay, Maeder's at striker. Now we finally get to see what Liam's been talking about on the pod for so many years. If you go right back in the history of the Celtic Down Under podcast, before Ange was even at the club, we'd always say and get asked this question: are there any good players in Australia who could go and play for Celtic and sign? And then get asked the same thing for Liam: who's good in Japan that Celtic should sign? And the first player that Liam said, and it would have been going back to the season before the 10 in a row season, probably, that didn't happen. But that season would have been when Liam was saying, oh, Daisy Maeda. I saw him playing at my local club, Matsumoto Yamaga, as a striker. And then any time I've seen, and he was saying we should be signing him. And then when we sign him, he's been talking about it. And he keeps, banging on that Maeda should be playing as a striker. He's being played out of position on the wing. And this game on the weekend, we finally got a chance to see what that setup would look like with Maeda starting at striker. And to me, it was the sort of role that he plays usually when you watch him play for Japan. And before anyone says anything, Kyogo doesn't even get in the Japanese squad half the time, but Maeda does as a striker. So, I think going into this game, it was interesting. And my biggest issue when Maeda plays as a winger is I say he's got heavy feet, but as a striker, it worked for him on the weekend. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with him starting off there. I thought we'd get a bit of rotation in the squad with, I was hoping Sinisalo would be our cup goalkeeper instead of Schmeichel, but I can understand it's early days. We've got to keep Schmeichel in the team to build up that comfortability with his back line and everything. So, makes sense. But, yeah, no, nothing out of the ordinary there. It was a good quality game. And, Maeda starting as Andrew's saying here, Maeda was a surprise, absolutely. But it was a pleasant surprise. So for me, I just look at it and go, overall, we got off to a fast start. The Kun on the wing, the little run in from Hatate, we tormented that Rocky Bashiri in their defence with the first goal. We got him out of position with Hatate's run, and then with the second goal, we got him out of position again with another run. So yeah, it was good to see that, the ball went in and then the cross came in, and first goal was pretty solid from Maeda. It was very similar to the Kyogo type of goal. Make you run to the front post, one touch, but he did well to lift it over the keeper. And then the second goal from Maeda, when the ball came in, it was I actually liked the combination of strength that he showed, the combination of poise to finish that. And he could have easily gone down on the initial bump, but he played through it. So it was good to see. He wasn't one of those diving. He wasn't playing like Fabio Silva. If he was, so Yeah, it was, overall, it was pretty good, and, yeah, and then you go the other end with, however you say it, Kuka Railovic, or however you say it, their striker. The, the cross in was what undid us. It was a good finish back across the goals from him, but I think what gave him the space to do that was that Hatate and, CCV were a bit unsure of who's covering that cross and who's gonna cover what, because they were pointing the fingers at each other afterwards. So, yeah, it wasn't ideal, but, got the job done in the end, especially in the second half where our press was on fire and Maeda makes a press, and then you get the ball back around, and next thing you know next thing you know, we, yeah, Kun gets his well-deserved goal as well, keep it rolling. So, I'll bring up a few comments here, but Mahesh is saying, Andrew was a big fan of Maeda, not quite the bromance he had with Kyogo, but close. John Clements is saying Maeda, not a surprise. Putting Mikey Johnson at centre forward is a bigger surprise. Yep. Putting Mikey Johnson anywhere near our first team is a surprise these days. Andrew is saying, surprised Rogers didn't try Maeda through the middle last season. Well, I understand that, but I can't really see when he would have done that. First half of the season, maybe, when all you've got was Kyogo and who was the backup striker. But yeah, him playing striker was the best option for us. And yeah, I think something I was gonna bring up on the pod was that Aberdeen are in for Kevin Nisbet from Millwall to basically go up north there and replace, what's his name? Oh yeah, O. So that's how forgetful it was, Andrew. O was the backup striker. So yeah, it would have made more sense over O. But second half when Ida was there, not so much. But yeah, I was saying with the striker, like I was gonna say, should we be thinking, is it worth having a conversation with Nisbet to see if he wants to come and be our third stringer or as our backup if Kyogo needs surgery, which we'll touch on shortly. So I don't think we need to do that. I think our lineup looks pretty good. Kyogo as a striker, Ida as a striker, and then you've got Maeda who can play on the wing and can play play as your third option as a striker if need be. So I'd be happy with that. But is that going to do the job for us in the Champions League? That's the real question. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one overall. Robert Gibson's got a hot off the press. Matt O'Reilly to Western Sydney Wanderers is the latest rumour. That's one for you A-League fans. It may as well be you know, linking him to any other club. Next thing you know, he's going to get linked to a club in Iceland. Andrew's response to my Nisbet thing is he's overweight and unfit, apparently. I got a mate who's a Millwall fan, and he said something similar. He's also said he's in a bit of a strop because he's not starting every week. All I've got to say about it is, if I was in his shape, I'd be a very happy man. So yeah, it's not going to happen anyway. But morning, Stephen. Thanks for tuning in. There we go. Reykjavik FC not interested. So yeah, overall, get back to the game quickly just to finish it off. I think it was a pretty straightforward game. Got the job done, and on to the next one, basically. So Kyogo, he's got this shoulder injury that we've all been well and truly aware of. So he's been carrying it for the best part of 2 seasons now. I think it all started, if I go back to when would have been Ange's last season at the club. So I remember during that time he had the shoulder issue, and CCV needed surgery as well. And once the title was wrapped up, CCV went and got his, I think it was knee surgery, and he went and got his surgery, and Kyogo didn't get the surgery over the off season. And then last season he was carrying the injury all season as well. So you would have thought with that shoulder injury that it's a bit of an issue all things considered, with all things considered, there, why wouldn't he got the surgery over the off season? I got distracted by your comment, Andrew. O'Reilly, you're saying he's gone, is it? We'll see what happens on that. We'll discuss that a little more. But yeah, so I'm looking at it going, Kyogo, if he needed surgery, he should have got it done. If he doesn't need surgery on it, can someone at least teach our medic team how to strap the shoulder properly the way they do, like our AFL players? Andrew's saying something there. Kyogo can keep playing with the shoulder. I don't know why they don't strap it up like they do in the AFL. And then we've got Kyogo didn't want surgery. So realistically, if he needs the surgery and it has to be done, it's out of his hands and the club's going to make him do it. Great. Otherwise, get him a shoulder brace or strap it. He's got to stop popping out. Like, I don't want to be too bad on him or everything like that, but if he doesn't want surgery, I can understand it. If everyone's got that body autonomy and they've got to make a decision on what they want to do. And he's the sort, Kyogo, where he just wants to keep playing football. And he'll be out for 4 months if he gets the surgery, apparently. So if he needs a surgery, maybe we need to make the decision for him, because he's the sort there's not going to be like, I think he'd be the one that thinks he's letting the team down if he's not playing. And that'll make my fearless prediction look pretty bad if he misses 4 months, because I said he'd be top scorer in the league with 25 goals this season. And could be a bit of a struggle for him. But if he needs a surgery, get it fixed. If he doesn't need it, strap it up and get on with it. So we'll see. We'll have to watch his space and see how all that plays out. So Robert here's saying surgery on a rotator cuff or loose tendons takes around 6 months to recover. Yep. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. We'll see how it all goes for him. So I'm gonna throw something out here for you in the comments. If you had to pick, and I want to bring this up later in the pod, if you had a transfer fee available of between £6 to £10 million to sign any player for this Celtic team for a first team starter on equal wages with Kelmac, what position would you sign someone for, and who would it be? Have a think about it, put it in the comments, and I'll try and bring some of the answers up later on. So we know Celtic's been linked with looking for a left back for the best part of 2 seasons now. The latest one is we're being linked with 24-year-old Dutch international left back Owen Wijndal from Ajax. He's played 11 times for Holland at international level. The thing with him is apparently we went in for Ajax's younger left back. So Wijndal is 24. There was someone, I can't remember which one it was, but it was younger. We went in for him and we're told he's not for sale, but Wijndal is. So basically, it's that production line I've been talking about on the pod for a while that I think we need. So they've got Wijndal to 24 years old now. He gets his move and the next man steps up. So he looks the part. He looks decent. He's a little bit taller than Greg Taylor. I'm sure Mahesh in the comments will be able to tell us what his stats and everything are like. But from what I've heard, he's statistically wise, he's not much better defensively than Greg Taylor. That's what I've heard at the back post. So Mahesh, prove what I've heard wrong, please. But yeah, let's see what he is here. We'll see how that plays out. But left back is my position that I just said to put us where you want to strengthen. I would love for us to either go and sign Geordie Boss, Australian left back from, I think he's playing in Belgium, or as I've said many times, Libby Kachache. He's the New Zealand international left back. Both of them are 6 foot, big athletic left backs. Sign either of them. Those would be my dream players. It'd get Celtic in the news down here a bit more too. So it always helps from that selfish level. All right. So I have no idea how long this pod's going to go for, everyone. Just also letting you know, because it's just me rambling what could be an hour if I had the rest of the team here. we'll probably get through in half an hour, let's be honest. So that's probably a good thing for you guys. You don't have to look at this head for too much longer. So Matt O'Reilly's been linked to more clubs. As we said earlier in the pod, he's been linked to Western Sydney Wanderers by Robert. But the latest is that Brighton have put a bid in around the £25 million, but then I swear I've seen it's 28 million euros for him. So yeah, it just looks like one of those things where he's going to be off at some point, and I'd rather he didn't. But you can see the club looking at it going, if he was to go to a club like Brighton with the development processes they have in place there, even though their gaffer's only a couple of months older than Calmac, it'd be a bit of an interesting one where if O'Reilly went to Brighton, how does he fit into that style of play? For me, I look at the way they play, and I think he's along the lines of Aaron Moy when he was at Brighton, where he's fast in, like, with his ability in the brain and with the ball with his passing ability, not the fastest, most athletic player that they have. So O'Reilly would be that type for them. Him coming in down there would be good though, because he would develop, and then we push forward and go, if it's 28 million, great. It's a club record. It's a bit lower than what I wanted. I wanted a minimum of 30 for him. But if we get that, we get some add-ons, and then we ask for a massive chunky sell-on fee because we know what Brighton's like. Their club record's £30 million. So if you got O'Reilly in there, who's like their second or third highest ever, brought him in, and yeah, got him in there, and say he does well for a year or two and gets that Virgil sort of move and goes for 70, 80 million pound, and you ask for 30%, you're laughing all the way to the bank on that one too. If you had him at, say, if it was 30% of the actual fee, not of the profit, then you could potentially be looking at, or even if it was 30% of the profit and he went for 50 million more than they paid us, there's still another 15 million coming in on top of the 25 we already got for him. So it's pushing you up at 40 million for him. So it's actually some good business we could do off O'Reilly. But I don't want that 25 to 40 million in the bank for him. I'd rather him be here for the Champions League. We do well and we make more money that way, and then we can sell him off after that. So yeah, there's plenty of options and permutations there that we've got to look at and see how it all plays out. To answer some questions, Robert, no, they didn't. They're not all down the pub. Shane's crook, throat infection, not feeling great, can barely talk. Johnny is playing some sport tonight, and Liam is elsewhere. So you're stuck looking at this head. Stephen Ray comment about Kyogo here. I'm not sure Kyogo can be trusted to stay fit. I'd look at bringing Eddie back. He's only 26 in his final year at Palace. You'd get him on a good knockdown fee there too. That's his last year, and we all know that Rodgers likes him, so could potentially work. Your follow-up thing there about I'd be surprised if Celtic pay money for a left back. I have no doubt the plan is to bring KT back next summer on a free. I've heard the same thing from some pretty good sources, people who have got direct connections to the club. I've heard that, that the plan is get to January, sign KT on a pre-contract cross-border, so it's a Bosman. Then he comes back next season, and then we have his long-term understudy is Anderson. That is what I've heard is the plan. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Michael Ross is responding to that Eddie comment saying, I'd never have French Eddie back. He down tools. The only positive, other than his ability on the pitch, Michael, is that I would actually be able to get that top out of the tub that's behind this flag here and actually start wearing it again. The one that has his name and number on the back. So there's a silver lining for me. Andrew's saying losing O'Reilly so late in this window doesn't give us much time for a replacement. Apparently, we're looking at Alvin Sanchez, a Swiss under-21 international. And then we've also got, what's his name? And or whatever, something Engel or whatever, the guy from Augsburg for about 10, 11 million pound. He apparently wants to come to us, play Champions League and everything. So there are some options there. We could get a replacement. And to follow up this question, where's our left back and centre back? Our left back is in Peter Lawwell's driveway, heating it up. So yeah, interesting one here. If I'm your saving grace here, Robert, I pity you. Could be worse whilst watching The Voice. And then Robert saying Franchetti toys out the pram type. That's the one. Engels. And then as Andrew saying, yep, we've still got blokes to get out 100%. I think the biggest issue is we've got to get we'll touch on that a bit later on about the transfer thing that I want to go into. But yes, it is going to be a busy few days. Major saying Windale and Taylor, same defensively, but Taylor's more creative and attacking. Big question, Windale quicker because Celtic need a left back with same transition speed as AJ. So Gaddafi Semtex has just said, take the money for Hatate, get better. My question, and that was the next thing I wanted to discuss here, is that Rio Hatate has been linked with a move to Leicester City. So with that, based on that and the Matt O'Reilly things, we cannot be losing both of them in the same window. That is my line in the sand sort of thing. We can lose one. Everyone thinks it'll be O'Reilly. I don't want it to be O'Reilly. I think he's the better option for us to play through a Champions League season, and then in January, if he wants to make his move, or this time next year, go, thanks for everything, off you go, good luck. I think he'd be the better that way. I think Hatate is the sort where he's coming off a bad season last year because of his injuries and everything, that the price we'll get for him won't be what we could have got the year prior. But if we were to if we were to sell Hatate, say if an offer come in for 20, 25 million from Leicester, I can see the board jumping at it. And then who replaces Rio? The question is, do we go and sign Engels anyway? Do we sign, is Bernardo his replacement? I want Home to go out on loan, but I don't know if he's going to be the long-term option. So if Hatate leaves, we've got to bring someone in. If we bring, say if we get 18, 20 million for Hatate, and then we spend 10, 11 million of that on Engels, and then we spend, what do you got, 7 million or something left over, then and Engels is going to be O'Reilly's replacement long term, and then you've got Bernardo ready to step up. Then you're looking at the next man on the production line, and you go and get Alvin Sanchez, that Swiss under 21 international, and play him in the same role. Then we're good to go. So, and you could pretty much get both of them for the money you're getting for Hatate, come out even and have two players. So there's always going to be an option there. If he signed a new contract and he wasn't moving to Millwall, I would have said if Hatate moved on, it'd be a battle between Bernardo and Kelly for that position. We'd be replacing from within. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, definitely can't lose both in the same window. Now, I'm just skimming over your comments here for a second. Paul Birrell, hail. Celtic always will have a plan B. Yep, I agree with you on that. Andrew's saying keep Hatate until at least January. Ideal world, keep both of them if we can, because the form that they're in at the moment, it's just great football to see. I'm not trying to sell these players off, but I'm just saying we know what our club's like and how they try to flip players, buy them for 1.5 million. If you're selling them for 25 million, 2.5 years later, the club's going to be like, bite the hand, take the money, heat up Peter Lawwell's driveway and bring in a few extra players. So I just look at it and go, there's plenty of options there, but we know how our club is. The money's there, you take it. Now, I was going to quickly just mute for a second, go drink, and then I'll read you this quote that I've got here that Brendan said about the transfers for the rest of the window. So Paul Galante is saying, sell Rio, buy McTominay. And then Andrew's saying, we are just starting to purr and now we're going to dismantle it. Hope we don't. Honestly, I hope we don't. I hope we strengthen. Mahesh is saying Engels is almost as good as Matt O'Reilly, but less creative. Sanchez wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, way short of O'Reilly levels. How does Sanchez compare Mahesh to Bernardo? That's the thing I'm looking at. Because I'm not wanting him to replace Rio. Like, I'm wanting, potentially I'll be looking at going, Bernardo steps up, but how does he compare to Bernardo last season playing in that backup role? That's what we're looking at. So, yeah, and as Mahesh is saying here, Steve Cooper at Leicester wants more creative mids, so Hatate could be a cost-effective option. We just need to keep our players if we can. And as Stephen Rose saying here, everyone assumes Bernardo is the Matt O'Reilly replacement, but I believe he's the Hatate replacement. That's pretty much, that's what I was just saying before as well, Steve, and I agree with you 100% on that. I think Hatate is more in that. So Bernardo's more in the Hatate role for us under Rodgers, and we need to bring someone else in. So if Hatate moved on, we've got a replacement. So we've got to bring someone into the Bernardo role, understudying him. And then we can use the rest of that money to get O'Reilly's replacement in the door for a good 6 months with him before he moves on. Perfect world that would be. But I don't want to sell either of them. Keep them. Bloody hell, Celtic, keep them. But the quote from Brendan, he said this about transfers the other day. If you spend £18 million on 9 players, I would hope that there's a possibility to spend £18 million on 3 players. That's £6 million each. Our model is to bring in young players to develop, but you can bring in young players to develop at a higher level. Then you know more of what you're getting, and there's maybe a higher ceiling. You might be able to bring in 1 or 2 more at that level. I think we can do that. It's just about getting the right player. So based on that quote there, are we expecting Celtic to push the boat out a bit and try to bring in those 2 to 3 players at the £6 million and above price range? It's what I was saying before about Engels and Sanchez. That's the sort of thing we're playing at. When I asked that question before about if you were to sign a player in that ballpark, would it be a left back? Would it be a centre back? Where would you spend that money? That's what I'm thinking here. We've got enough squad depth in terms of backups. I'd rather us bring in players who are going to push guys who started last season and guys who domestically, like Greg Taylor, who are good enough for Scotland, but in Europe get found out. Are we able to bring in an Alistair Johnson level or above at left back to demote Taylor to our bench, which then in turn makes our squad stronger? That's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm talking about here. At the moment, we're playing Maeda at striker because of an injury to Kyogo, and Ida's just back in the door. So if Maeda's going to be playing striker, is Jamesy Forrest going to be able to keep up the pace playing as a winger week in, week out? And if he is, and he's only going to play 60 minutes every week, are we happy with Palmer as his backup on that wing? Are we happy on the right with Kun, the form he's in? And then his backup being Yang. I'm not happy with Yang as Kun's backup. I'm happy with Kun starting. I'd rather it was Kun starting with Forrest as his backup, and then Maeda starting on the other wing, and then having Palmer as his backup, and then we have Kyogo up front with Ida. I'd rather that lineup. But if he's got to play striker, if Maeda's got to play striker, then are we a man short in the wingers? That's just another question. So there's a whole bunch of different variations here. There's a lot to be done, but for me, I agree with what Andrew's saying here. In Champions League, we need to slip a wider in alongside Kelmack and Hatate or O'Reilly as a 10, so play with a double pivot. And Andrew's also saying about Rodgers' quote, tell Rodgers he's dreaming. The question is Rodgers going back to what he was like his first stint around where he's saying we've got to get these players, and he's trying to bring in like a £18 million left back, or sorry, right back or whatever. And Peter Lawwell saying, "Nah, that's not in our budget." Yes, we've got money to spend and there's still money in our budget, but are the wages going to fit? You don't want to rankle the locker room and throw it all out of whack and be like, your captain Kelmax on what, 40 grand a week, and then you want to bring in a player at 60. Next thing you know, the next player coming in or when their contract's up is going to be like, oh, that bloke over there's earning 60, so I want 65. I'm better than him. And then suddenly your wage things balloon, and then you end up with where certain clubs have been in the past, where they end up going the way of the buffalo. So yeah, it could be an interesting one, but I don't really think we're going to push the boat out too much unless we sell for big money. Where we currently are now, I don't see it happening. If Hatade was to move on, possibly. But prove me wrong, Celtic. Prove us all wrong, please. I dare you to. It'll make me a very happy camper. Now for a bit of a laugh. So, zombie talk. Here we go. So, I have a question for you all. With the financial issues going on over at Ibrox, yes, I had to say that. Such a bad pun and a dad joke, but with the situation they've got on, how close to going bust do we think Rangers are? And do we think the stadium issues and court case settlement could push them over the edge, unless they sell off players and or raise cash with their share issue? With that question, it's pretty simple. They're playing with monopoly money. What I'm seeing at the moment is giving me 2012 vibes all over again. It's they've got to make Champions League, get 40 million, and it'll clean up their debts. They missed the Champions League. They're going in the down the gurgler basically, and I agree with you, McLaughlin. It's either bust or a takeover. I'm thinking. Andrew's saying version 3 coming. Michael's saying zombies celebrating after the cup game was hilarious and embarrassing. I'm going to try and upload a quick picture that I saw before because I agree with you there on that one, Michael. Where is it again? There it is. Yeah, so it's for me, I'm looking at it going, it's going to be third Rangers coming soon. So yeah, I just think they got themselves in too deep. There's the levels to it. Us winning the cup, look at that end, look at them on the weekend. Yep, terrible. So Paul Galanti is saying if they have another share issue, they won't be worth bog paper. Yep. SFA will buy the club. I think it was a morale exercise. 100% it was. But for me, like, I'm just looking at the situation there and how it's all going, right? And if you break it down step by step, and I'm just going to bring up a post that I saw and I've saved because I can't remember who said it, but this is probably the best summary of where everything's at with them. So if you look at their share issues and everything and the stadium issues, they're also going to need contingency funds to pay the rental at Hampden. And no bank's going to give them a line of credit because of how bad their financial situation is. Then you've got the issues with the stadium. So is it asbestos? Is it steel issues? Have they not got the right things that they needed, like approvals from the council? So realistically, I do not feel bad for their fans. I don't feel bad for them as a club. And the banter years, this is probably going to be the most banterest of all banter years if things keep going how they are. And same, Robert, I just got used to calling them Sevco, and now they're going to be what? Remember when it was third Lanark because it's the third version of it? So is it going to be the Rangers? So the Rangers? Is it going to be third Rangers? What's it going to be? Who knows? It's going to be great though. Another episode of The Walking Dead coming potentially. So yeah, with that comment early on from McLaughlin, where he's saying it's either bust or takeover, and then McLaughlin saying third Rangers based at Cathkin. Andrew Galea saying a City Group or Red Bull or someone like that will come in and bail them out. On that one, I've seen and I've heard some talk online, and you've got their fans. You know how desperate they are. They're all talking up. Oh, the Blue Group should come and invest in us. Who is the Blue Group? Todd Bowley at Chelsea, who then went and bought Racing Strasbourg in France because they're a similar colour blue. And now those guys are looking at it, and that's the only tie-in. Oh, Chelsea are our friends down in England. They should invest in us and help us. That's what I'm seeing written on Twitter. So I'm seeing them screenshots of follow and all that stuff. Yeah. If some idiot like that comes in, he'll spend money on players, yes, but the stadium issues is going to be ridiculous. So yeah, I hope they go tits up, basically. That's the easiest way to sum it up. It'll be pretty funny. So Robert with his comments again, I'm loving it. But so yeah, I'm just looking at that going, there could be some major issues going on there. And off the back of that issue, so this is pretty much the last thing I wanted to discuss on the pod tonight, was off the back of if they go under, I just wanted to find out, like, what would the future hold for Scottish football in general if they died again? Like, if we look at it, take the Celtic green tinted specs off for a second and go, what would the future be like for Scottish football? And I really enjoyed. I'm going to go back to when they died and they started in the third tier, right? Not then they got relegated. No, it's no continuation like it's a new club. When they died and they went into the third tier and had to work their way up, right? When that all happened, I really enjoyed those few years. Other than the tarps when Ronnie was running the joint, like was managing, take a few of the tarps away, a few of the like fair weathered fans or whatever, and that some clubs had to scale back. But I like the competitiveness of the league. Like when you've got clubs like Dundee United, when they had Mackay Stevens and Armstrong and Kifke and Andy Robertson, they had a good young team coming through. Aberdeen had a good young team coming through. Hibs and Hearts, they went through their issues, but they had good teams coming through, like with a lot of young players. So realistically, you look at it from that perspective, Scottish football in general, in my opinion, will be a lot healthier. Because yes, the clubs financially won't get as big a payday, but at the same time, they're already, you know, not selling 3 stands of their stadium every week to away fans, so they're not getting funded as much by Celtic fans and Rangers fans on away games. So that being the case, will the other clubs struggle as much with their revenue, or have they already future-proofed themselves for that? Shouldn't be that bad. So I think on the Scottish football side, it could actually be better for them. But then, so what do we got here? Andrew saying they are bargain basement now, talking about Rangers. McLaughlin saying actually seem to be worse than they were than we were under Lou Macari. And Robert saying Scotland will be a nicer place without them. And then Andrew saying if they die, we should insist our reserve team play in the championship. I have another option on that, Andrew, that I want to touch on. For me, the second part of my thing was what would the future look like for Celtic with no viable options left to challenge us in Scottish football? Like, how many times in our club history before we did the quadruple treble had we had a treble in the league? I think it was what, 4 or 5 times, something like that, maximum. I'm probably wrong on the figure, but I know it was wrong. So for me, what would the future be for Celtic in Scottish football? And that's where I tie in here, where Andrew's saying we should insist on playing our reserve team players in the championship. I'd go one further. Mahesh is saying Celtic should go to the EPL. Now, I don't necessarily want us to go to the EPL. If I could pick any league in general across Europe that we could move to, I would love to see Celtic playing in the Bundesliga. Just the style of football and everything could be great. But the easiest option would be to go play down in England. The way the English league has Welsh clubs, we can go down there. What I would like to do, though, so we're not completely leaving Scottish football behind, is our B team, let them come up through the pyramid and stay in Scotland. Basically, so you got like you got like a Red Bull Salzburg, and then you've got Red Bull Leipzig and all these sort of things. We could have like that sort of thing where our reserves are playing Scotland still, and then we go into England. Now, yes, Andrew, I understand that. No more Champions League if we leave Scotland. There's no more Champions League guaranteed for us anyway next season based on the coefficient. So it's pretty much a wash. We're not guaranteed Champions League. We have to go through qualifiers. So would we as a fan base look at it and go, we got £100 million in the bank. We know it's going to be a bit shit for a few seasons because we're not going to have strict Champions League money. So if that's the case, do we go down to England and say, let's go to the championship or somewhere in there and try and win our way up? Because they're not going to let us straight into the EPL. If we were to go do that, I honestly think I was talking to a guy I work with today, who's a Tottenham fan, and he was going, "Oh, how would Celtic go if they were in the EPL now?" And I said, "We'd be mid-table this season. We've got a good enough squad as it is at the moment. We wouldn't be in the relegation dogfight. We'd be somewhere from 8th through to 14th. That's if we're in the EPL. Then if we were to get that English Premier League TV money for 2 or 3 seasons and be able to up our wage bill and do whatever we need stadium-wise. We've got the Adidas deal. That means it'll push us up to a top tier, one of their clubs. We'd be breaking that into that top 6. With our supporter base, we are global. We are everywhere. We're one of the most iconic strips globally. We're an institution. We're not just a football club. You get us down there, that's why we'll never get let into the Premier League, into England. We won't get let in because what one of the current top 6 or big 6 teams is going to want to give up their spot for a team from Scotland to come in and take their spot? I don't see Man City or Chelsea or Tottenham or Liverpool wanting to do that. Do you see Man United wanting to do that? No. So straight away, then you've got Newcastle, who's got their Saudi Arabian money coming in. We're bigger than Newcastle. They just got richer owners. We're bigger than Aston Villa. We are too dangerous for them to allow us into England, into that Premier League. Give us 3 years in that league and we'll be challenging for it. And they'll never let us in because of it. So where Andrew was saying, no more Champions League if we leave Scotland, and then you've got Michael saying they'll never let us into England, then as Robert's saying here, the English wouldn't like a Scottish team being champions of England. Exactly. So it could be a bit of a nightmare. But as I'm saying, and Gaddafi Semtex is saying, we would be the biggest in the UK within 5 years. You put a club with our sort of our history behind us, getting that TV money. You've got these global historic clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man United, as much as I don't like saying it, Liverpool. We wouldn't look at a place in that company, and that's why they won't let us in. We'd be too big for them. Michael Ross is saying we'd be a huge, enormous club if we went to England. And then Mahesh is saying Celtic move to EPL will provide the funding to compete in Europe. Celtic will be quite comfortable mid-table team in EPL right now. Exactly, and that's what I was talking about with one of the guys at work today. Jerry's saying England won't let us into the league. A European league is what we need. and an Andrew saying Euro Super League is coming. Do you think Peter Lawwell, being involved with the club association, knows there's a Euro Super League coming and he's lining us up to get in there? Potentially. But if all the leagues stay how they are now and there's no Euro Super League coming in, I don't see the English league letting us in because of what we've just spoken about. Those clubs aren't going to want to give up their spot with that cash cow that they've got at the moment. And football wise, I would love to see us playing, like if we had to go and play in a certain league just for stylistic reasons, Germany. That's where I would love for us to be playing if we could pick anywhere. And Andrew, why are we hoarding cash? Well, if pretty simple. If Rangers die, got to offset that 2 million TV money somehow, don't we? Yeah, but no, like hoarding the cash is pretty simple. If we were to move into a European Super League, say if that comes in, and we're coming from a league with no TV revenue, we're going to need money to be able to compete against those sort of clubs who are coming from leagues where they're getting 50, 60 this season, 50, 60 million a year. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see how it plays out. But what do we got here? How about the World Super League? Never mind a Euro one. McLaughlin saying it won't be long until teams like Yokohama, Ali, Fuminese are asked to join the Champions League. And then he goes, there was already talk of a Saudi Arabian team being allowed in the Champions League. I'm just going to say it. That doesn't surprise me at all. Saudi Arabia is an Asian confederation. However, look where Israel is located. Every country around it plays in the Asian Confederation, but Israel plays in Europe. That's all I have to say. They can modify borders however they see fit, so nothing shocks me at all on that. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one overall. We'll see. We'll watch that place and we'll talk about it as, more news becomes available. Hope I haven't bored you all to death. Thanks for tuning in on the solo pot noodle. Appreciate it. If you're feeling like you want to support the Celtic Down Under podcast and get yourself one of these t-shirts or a hoodie, they're available on CelticDownUnder.com. You can check that out and grab them from there. If you want to buy one of our flags, like what's hanging behind me, I've got about 25 of them left over. So you can send an email to me, admin@CelticDownUnder.com or downunderceltic@gmail.com, and we'll arrange it all from there and figure it out. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. And have a great week. Hail, hail.